He wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the strongest, and he definitely wasn't the most naturally gifted. But somehow, he became a legend, while others relied on talent. He relied on something deeper, something forged through silence, pain, and relentless repetition. No blaming the environment, the past, or the circumstances. He took ownership of everything, every success, every failure, every detail. He paid attention to every detail, every small movement, every nuance. He was obsessed with the process. He was willing to sacrifice comfort today for greatness tomorrow. When the progress was invisible, when the sacrifices seemed to outweigh the rewards, but he kept going. Because his mentality wasn't built on comfort, it was built on purpose. And purpose doesn't quit. It doesn't care how long the road is. It just keeps moving forward. He understood that the storm is part of the journey, and the fire, the adversity, the setbacks, they were shaping him, not breaking him. Every loss taught him how to win. Every doubt taught him how to believe. Every setback gave him a new reason to rise. That's the part most people miss. They want the reward, but they don't want the delay. He understood that every moment of sacrifice was a deposit into his future. And while others chased distractions, he stayed locked in. While others sought approval, he sought growth. While others were afraid to fail, he welcomed failure as part of the path. He didn't fear mistakes, he studied them, learned from them, used them. Because failure wasn't the end. It was feedback. He didn't wait for inspiration to strike. He created structure. He created systems. He understood that success wasn't the result of a single day, it was the result of thousands of consistent ones. He didn't care how he felt. He didn't let mood dictate his action. He knew that feelings are fleeting, but discipline creates results. So whether he was tired or motivated, stressed or calm, he did the work. Because showing up on the hard days mattered more than the easy ones. He understood early on that waiting for perfect conditions is a trap. If you wait for a life to be convenient before you commit to growth, you will be waiting forever. So he started where he was, with what he had, and made it enough. He didn't complain about the things out of his control, he focused entirely on what he could change. His effort, his focus, his commitment, his attitude. Every single day, he asked himself, what can I do today to get better? And then he did it. Not just once, but every day, without fail. Something that couldn't be measured in stats or seen on the highlight reel. It was forged in the lonely hours when no one was watching. It was forged in the hundreds of times he kept going when it would have been easier to quit. This isn't a story of luck or privilege. This is the story of mentality, the kind of mindset that transforms ordinary people into icons. Because greatness, real greatness, isn't born. It's built, and it's built in the unseen moments, the moments that most people overlook, but legends build their lives round. While the world looked at others and called them naturally gifted, he looked in the mirror and said, I will outwork them. There were no excuses. When others were sleeping, he was working, not because someone told him to, but because he was chasing a vision of himself that nobody else could see. It wasn't about being better than others. It was about being better than he was yesterday. He didn't need the crowd. He didn't need applause. He just needed the discipline to keep going. That's the secret. Talent might open a door, but work ethic kicks it down and builds an entire empire behind it. He didn't care about being the most talented. He cared about being the most prepared. While others relied on natural ability, he trained like he had none. He trained because he knew that when the moment came when it mattered, most preparation would be the difference. But it wasn't just hard work, it was how he worked. He wasn't driven by instant gratification. He wasn't seduced by shortcuts. He knew that anything worth having takes time. There were moments, dark moments, when it felt like nothing was working. He believed in himself not because he thought he was perfect, but because he knew how much he had invested in his growth. He didn't need to be the best right away, but his purpose pulled him forward. He remembered why he started. He remembered who he was doing it for. His mission was bigger than his mood. And that mission gave meaning to every early morning and every painful rep. He wasn't just building a career, he was building a legacy. In how he treated people, in how he managed his time. Discipline wasn't just a switch he turned on. It was about the impact he could have, the message he could leave behind. He inspired people not because he told them what to do, but because he showed them what was possible. It's built by those who choose to rise, who choose to persist, who choose to think differently. The mentality that made him a legend is not just his, it's available to anyone willing to embrace it. And that includes you. The question is, will you? He showed them that with the right mindset, with the right commitment, and with relentless persistence, anyone could rise. It was his lifestyle. He didn't let chaos control him. He created order, the mindset that echoed far beyond the scoreboard. He became a legend not because he was the most gifted, but because he had the courage to keep going, the discipline to stay consistent, and the belief to become something more. And in that order, he found freedom. Freedom from regret, freedom from distraction, freedom from mediocrity. One that wasn't built on flash, but on principles, on habits, on character. He just needed to become better, step by step. That belief wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It was steady, grounded, and unshakable. He didn't waste energy comparing himself to others. He respected their path but stayed focused on his own. And while others let opinions define them, he let action speak. He understood that confidence is built not by being told you great, but by doing the hard things consistently until you no longer fear them. There were moments when his body wanted to quit, when his mind screamed for a rest. He didn't chase perfection. He chased progress, because perfection isn't real. But progress is everything. Even 1% better, 1 inch closer, 1 more rep. That was enough. That mentality, the relentless pursuit of better, was what made him dangerous. He needed mirrors, people who told him the truth, who pushed him harder, who helped him stay sharp. And he welcomed it, because growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens when you stretch, when you strain, when you're forced to confront your limitations. He had the humility to know he didn't have all the answers, but he had the courage to go find them. It's what made him different. While others were satisfied with good enough, he was just getting started. And that hunger never went away. Even when he reached the top, he didn't slow down. He kept evolving, kept learning, kept refining. Because the true greats never plateau. They don't reach the summit and stop climbing. They find higher mountains. He surrounded himself with people who challenged him. He didn't need yes men. Every day, he practiced discipline, not just in the gym or in his craft, but in how he lived. And perhaps the most powerful thing of all, he used his mentality not just to lift himself, but to lift others. He knew his journey wasn't just about him. And long after the lights faded, long after the records were broken, what remained was the example he set, the standard he lived by. So when you think of greatness, remember this: it doesn't come wrapped in talent. It's not reserved for the chosen few.